Welcome to another Friday workshop. On the bottom here, this is not the MomentumBBLines, but it's actually the MomentumBBLines. All right, and this is a universal Keltner channel over the price action. And you can get both of these indicators for free. Obviously, you can get them both from Big Mike's, but once again, the author's given me permission to put them on my website. So if you want to go to let me just put that in there real quick. I'll put the link in for you so that you can go download these. There it is. So you can go there and download them if you're not already an elite member of Big Mike's. All right, so let's do this. This is a 144 tick chart of crude oil. Now I'm essentially just going to start building conditions. I'm going to find this trade right here, and I'm also going to find this little area right here. Do you see how the momentum BBs have pulled away from the Bollinger Bands there? Right in this area? So I want to find areas like that where the BBs have pulled extremely far away from the Bollinger Band. I'm sorry, where the momentum, the dots, this is obviously the momentum line, the one that's showing the little red dots and the little pale green dots. That's actually a 20-period momentum indicator. All right, you see it's a 20-period momentum. And then we have Bollinger Bands. I think they correspond to the momentum period. So I believe that's a 20-period set of Bollinger Bands as well, set to 1 standard deviation. So you can see that when the actual momentum lines pull away from the BB lines, that can be a good indication that the market's coming to a stop. It's about to reverse and head back the other direction. You see the same thing right here, right? And barely right here. But what's interesting here is that the Bollinger Bands are kind of going sideways right there when you pull away. So we'll find these areas. Obviously, we don't want to look for it when we have such a steep sloping Bollinger Band. Let's do this. So let's start building just one condition at a time. Let's first show when the BB lines are below the 0 line or above the 0 line, when the actual momentum line is. All right, so I'm going to add SI BloodHound to the chart. And it looks like I know just about every one of you, and I think just about every one of you already have pretty good experience with BloodHound. So I'm not going to try to baby you through this stuff. I'm going to act like, not that you're very advanced users or anything, but that you kind of know the basics. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a comparison solver just to show whether we're above or below the 0 line. And I'll just right-click, add the comparison. And then indicator A is obviously the momentum. MomentumBBLines right here. And when I send this template out, I'll send you these indicators anyhow. Now, there we go. Okay, good deal. So this is not MACD, it's MomentumBBLines above or below 0. It's really that easy, right? We just use the momentum in indicator A and then absolute value of 0 in indicator B, and we don't have to change anything. And you can see when we're above 0, we get long. When we're below 0, we get short. All right, so that will be our first condition. Now then, what we have here is the SI swings, highs, lows indicator. All right, and I've set the number of swings to 2. I'm going to explain this briefly. I don't want to confuse anyone too bad, but let's say I'm going to set this to 6, so try to pay attention here. I'm going to set this one also to a number of swings of 6. Swing sensitivity of 6. Let's set this actually to like 10. And now I'm going to take these. Well, I don't really need to change them, so let me just click OK. I will go ahead and save this. Save. BloodHound Workshop 2014-0801. Okay. Let me take this off for a moment. Okay. We're looking at this bar right here on the far right edge. Okay? Forget about from right here, from this point here to the left. Forget about all of that. We're just looking at this bar. All right? I'm going to have to count the swings in between here, but watch how this works. So at this point, actually that's not as cut and dry right there. Maybe it's better to use this point so that we have more well-defined swings. All right, so at this point we have one swing back, right? One swing up to here. Another swing down to here. Let me change this. Rather than using 6, let me just use 4. I think it'll be easier to explain this way. We'll set this back to like 5. All right, bear with me for a second. This is really going to be useful for you guys because this is a pretty amazing tool for doing advanced price action conditions. All right, so we have one swing down right here. Actually, that's not true. This is the first swing down to this point. You see how this little baby line right here, this is the tightest bottom. All right? And this little thin line here is the tightest top. I'm going to explain what those are in a second, okay? And then the big fat ones, that's the widest bottom. That's the dark magenta. And then the widest top is this big thick one right here. Okay? Just kind of follow along with me now because this is going to make sense. All right? We're starting at this bar right here. We're coming down. This is the first swing that's marked. All right? What's the second swing that's marked? You see it marked right here with this horizontal line. It's marking this top right there. All right? So this is swing number 2. And then swing number 3 down to the lowest low. And then swing number 4 all the way to the top here. So we don't have any of these little baby intermediate swings marked. All right, we only have this one, this low here, this little high here, this low here, and then this high right here. So at this point on this actual bar, we're looking at the current bar, what is the highest high of these past 4 swings? Well, it's this one, isn't it? So that's why this one is marked as the widest top. All right, now what is the widest bottom or the lowest low point of these 4 swings? It's this one, right? That's why that one is called our widest bottom. All right, now what is the second to lowest swing point? The second to lowest swing point is right here. That's why this one is marked as the tightest bottom. If I were to set this out to, say, look back 10 or 20 swings, it would set the lowest, the second to lowest swing low as the tightest bottom. All right, so if we had, just looking back a number of swings, well, this is going to be the tightest bottom because that's the secondary lowest point. That's the second to lowest swing low. Does that make sense? If this doesn't make sense, I'll try to explain it a different way, but I think this is about the best way to explain it. And then the tightest bottom is the second to highest swing high. So it's the subsequent swing high that's closest to the highest swing high. All right, now a standard swings indicator won't allow you to mark, intermediate swings, which is why this is so incredibly cool, because you can use these different, tightest tops, tightest bottoms. When it changes, when it moves from one point to the next, you can use this to mark all sorts of different price action conditions. I'm only going to do something very basic today. So when you change this back to use only 2 swings, you'll see that these tightest tops and tightest bottoms, these little thin lines, merge with the widest bottoms and widest tops. Okay, because we're only looking at 2 swings now, so there's not a subsequent intermediate pivot. I hope that makes sense. I know this stuff can be a little bit complicated, but there's really no other way to explain it than what I just did, I think. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to take it back to 2 swings now, and I'm going to show you a different way of looking at whether we're making higher highs or lower lows. All right. The solver that comes with BloodHound that's already built for this is this Dorsten swing trend. All right, this is the guy that made the price action swing indicator. So when I change this, we have a swing setting of 4. I'll use a double top of just 20% of the ATR. So if you can see right here at this point, essentially what it's showing is when we're breaking into new lower lows and lower highs, let me add the other indicator real quick that marks those. When we're breaking into lower lows, lower highs, it goes into a downtrend. All right, but it doesn't get confirmed until we really start to put in a subsequent lower high or higher low. It's kind of seems a little odd when it starts to confirm it. It's like it has to go through it by so much, or I'm not sure exactly what the code is in there. But what we can do is, rather than waiting for confirmation, we could just say, well, is the closing price greater than the previous swing low or swing high? And all we do is use a comparison solver. We'll use closing price for indicator A, and then we'll add an indicator B, the SI swings highs lows indicator. Set this to 4. So if the closing price is above the widest top, we want to give a long signal. If it's below the widest bottom, we want to give a short. And if I'm going a little bit fast, remember you can always refer back to the video. Last week's session is now up on my YouTube channel. I'll show you how to get there later on after we build some conditions here. All right, so that's what this is doing. It's showing us when the close is above the widest top and when the close is below the widest bottom. So now what we want to do is turn that signal on until, okay, you see this green signal right here? We want to force that long condition on until we get the next short condition. And then once we get the next short condition, then we force the long condition off, then force the short condition on until we get a signal in the opposite direction. All right, so we're going to use the toggle for that. And I'm going to set this to force the signal on. But now, when we get the opposite signal, I need to force this signal off. So I set the opposite signal to force it off. You see that? So now we're forcing, when we get the short signal here, we're forcing that on until we get the next long condition. You see, we got the first short right here. We get the first long right here. So we're going to force these on until we get the first long, then force the long on until we get the next short. And it's that simple. Okay? Good to go. So now let's get rid of this distortion swing trend. We'll connect both of these together with an AND node. Okay, let's take this off. There we are. All right, now then, let's add back the Keltner channel. So it's the ANA Keltner Universal. Right here. And we're using the EMA. Remember, a standard Keltner channel uses an SMA. So that's why I'm using this one, because it allows us to change whatever moving average we want to use. All right, we can set this to some very wild-looking stuff, which, you know, I don't know if it's very useful or not, but you can do whatever you want with this thing. So we're just going to use the EMA, set to a 20, and I'm going to use the true range for the ATR offset of 2. And we're going to smooth the channels. So I'll add that now. All right, so you see when I'm adding in that condition about making higher highs or lower lows, you see right here we're actually still technically in a downtrend because we have yet to break above the previous swing high, which is right here. You see that? So if I were to set this to, let's say, something lower, let's say if I don't think a 3 will cut it, but let's just see. Yeah, 3 did cut it. All right, so let's change that inside of the template to a 3 as well. Yeah, I think that'll still be all right. Let's do that. So I'm going to change this from a 214 to a 213. And there you can see we turn into the uptrend right here now. Basically, the only thing that's limiting it is the fact that we're still below the 0 line right here. All right, so we'll show a couple of different conditions with this. We'll show when we're breaking out of the upper Bollinger Band, when we're breaking below the lower. We'll show a 0 line rejection, and then we'll also show a Bollinger Band rejection, and then obviously this condition as well. So quite a lot to do. I didn't want to spend too much time because I know the longer these videos get, the harder it is to kind of pay attention and learn. But I think this will be a good one anyway. A lot of the conditions that I use tend to be kind of similar in that we're showing when a price bar is touching a line. So that's something I build over and over in these templates. So let's build that one now, using the indicator comparison. I think obviously repetition is the key to memorization, so it doesn't hurt to see these things over and over. It'll just make you that much faster when you build them on your own. So we're looking at when a bar is touching the midpoint of this Keltner channel, the midline, the midband. All right, so we're using the high for long, low for short, with the SI chameleon. Remember, the chameleon gives you access to all of the data points on the bar. I think all of you know that by now, at least I'd say 90% of you. So indicator B, let's add the Keltner channel. Change the settings here, true range. Change the SMA to an EMA. $20, yes. 2, yes. We don't need to show the paint bars, obviously, because it's not visual. It's inside of BloodHound. We don't need to use the mid-band slope. and we're using the middle band. Alright, so this is for showing when the bar is touching the midband. I connect that, and you can see, obviously, we get longs when the high is above it, and then shorts when the low of the bar is below it. So what do you see? You see that when the bar is actually straddling the midband, you get both long and short outputs. All right, what do we need now? I'm going to ask you guys to tell me. What do we need to single out these bars that are touching the midband? One of you out there knows the answer to this question. Not displacement. Which one of these function nodes do we need to single out the bars that are touching just the midband? Just the bars that we get long and short. Exactly, long and short modifier. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the long output times the short output. And what is that going to do? It's going to eliminate the bars on which we have only the long output and the bars on which we only have short output. So remember, while it's being marked as -1 visually on the chart for the short output, internally it's just a 1 for short or a 1 for long. It's kind of like absolute value, right? So really we're multiplying, in this case for the short output, we're multiplying the short output of 1 times a long output of 0. So 1 times 0 is what? It's 0. So it eliminates both outputs. Then on this bar, where we have both a long output and a short output on the same bar, we're multiplying long output of 1 times short output of 1, and it keeps both outputs. Okay, and in order to use multiplication for this long-short modifier, we set this to product. Product is multiplication. You see that? So you have all of these different things. I mean, you can, let me just show you some of the different things here. We could swap, which is just swapping the long and the short. Mirror long. We could average the two together. Okay, there's a lot of different things you can do. I'm not going to waste time going through all of that. So remember, if you want to isolate a bar that is straddling some indicator, or even a previous swing, then this is what you're going to use: the product with an indicator comparison, looking at the high for the long. So when the high is above it, we get longs, and when the low is below it, we get shorts. Right? So that way, when the bar is straddling it, we get both a long and a short. Very simple. High, low, above, below the Keltner channel midband. Okay. So that's got that. So now when I add this, we're only going to get longs on bars that are touching the midband, and that agree obviously with the trend here. See? So that's narrowed it down even further. So we're narrowing it down. We're restricting it more and more here. All right, now then, what's our next condition? Well, let's look for a reversal bar. So the first one that we'll use is the indicator inflection. See, these are conditions that we use over and over in each system. And then I'll get into some different things here in a minute when I get into working with this MomentumBBLines. So this is going to be a typical condition. This is the closing price inflection. This is something you should always know how to easily do. Closing price inflection. So it's showing a reversal bar. All right, but you see this bar right here at the bottom? We're going from down to an up bar. That is, the close of the bar is above the open of the bar. But the close of this bar, 97.14, is equal to the close of the prior bar. So it doesn't actually change from moving down to moving up. It's just the same. So what do we have to do for that? We're going to create a condition that's looking at the current close relative to the close 1 bar ago. So we'll add the SI chameleon. And remember, when you're adding in the chameleon, you're adding in a separate data series. So sometimes Ninja doesn't sync up very well. I don't know why. So it seems to be worse for crude oil and the TF. I used to think those were the only two instruments, but I've seen it happen on instruments that I thought it didn't happen on before. So I'll show you this now. Right now we're setting this to the current close is equal to the close of 1 bar ago. So when the close of the current bar is equal to the close 1 bar ago, we should get both a long and a short output. But even though this is actually equal to the close, you see the close about 6 parameters down, 97.14, and then right here 97.14, but it's not working. So what's going on? Something's broken. What's going on? Well, it's not broken. It's just adding in a separate data series. You just need to set this to 0.1 for some reason. And okay, look at me, stupid me. I forgot to displace it. Let's set it back to 0. All right, remember, we're looking at the current close relative to the close 1 bar ago. So I just forgot to displace it here. We want to look 1 bar ago, so we displace it by 1 bar. Okay, there. But now it's still not working. You see? So it's not broken. We just set this to 0.1. And there we go. So now we're showing when the current close is equal to the close of 1 bar ago. You see it's equal to the close 1 bar ago here. This close is equal to the close 1 bar ago here. Same thing here, and you can see that, all across the chart. So what we want to do now is we want to give direction to these bars. So we could say, let's do this. Let's say close equal to close 1 bar ago. Let's also say that the direction of the bar should be in agreement, or it should be closing above the low, because remember, if it's a doji, we don't get bar direction out of dojis. You see this doji right here? It closes and opens on the same spot, same price. So we're not getting direction out of that bar, are we? So that's the problem with this. Obviously, it's not, the close is not above or below the open, so there's obviously no direction. So what we want to do is we want to get direction out of those doji bars. So we'll set this to SI chameleon once more. Low for long, high for short. So when the close is 51% above the low, then we want to signal that bar as being a long signal. All right, so here, let me connect this. And we're going to set now the large amount to an ATR period of 1, because we want to look at the range. Remember, this is the average true range indicator, which is doing, it's doing the average range of the past X number of bars, but when we're doing the past range of X number of bars and we're setting this to only look back 1 bar, well, that's looking at the range of the current bar, you see. So we'll now set this to 51% of the current bar's range. And we'll do that for the small amount as well. 0.51. And there we go. So when the close is 51% or greater than the low of the bar, we give a long signal. So that's why this doji bar has a long signal. But you see this bar right here at the low, at the bottom, we don't have a signal on it. Why? Because it closed right in the middle. So it closed right on 50%. So what would we want to, I'm having a hard time talking today. What would we want to do in this case? Well, let's set the neutral amount to 1. No, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's just set it back to 50%. So that if it actually closes, well, see, that's the problem. Because we're using chameleon, so if it's closing right on 50%, we would actually need to have that kind of a fudge factor like we had for this with the 0.1 ticks. So let's just set this to 49% then. So we'll set it to 49% there and 49% here. So on bars that close right in the middle, right at the halfway point, we'll get both a long and a short. Okay? And then let me find, let's see here. It closes right in the middle. So right here, we're getting a long on this down bar because we're closing above the 50% mark of this bar. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an OR node and allow the bar direction to come through. So we'll get now both a long and a short on that bar. See? Because we still want to allow a down bar as giving us a short signal, even if it doesn't close below the 50% line. Okay, does that make sense? I hope. So now let's say, let's name this the close. I'll just give it kind of a generic 51%. No, it's 49% of the high and the low. So with, wow, I guess I'm pretty hungry. Okay. Let's say, and, I'm sorry, this is, well, let's do this, because essentially what I was doing with this was trying to get a direction out of these bars that were closing equal with the low, these bars. So if I join that with the and here, then we get direction for those bars. Except for, obviously, the bar that closes right in the middle, then we're getting both a long and a short. All right, but the ones that are closing decisively below the 50% line or above the 50% line, then we get direction out of those. Okay, so we're going to use this or the closing price inflection for the reversal bar. All right, so this is actually the reversal bar trigger, this little set of conditions right here. So we've accounted for every possible condition that might arise, every possible price action that could occur. So now when I connect this to the AND node, we get the actual entry bar, the actual signal bar. You see that? So this was the one we wanted to get first, so we have it now. That's our entry from the midband with the momentum above the zero line and going into an uptrend. So we're closing above previous highs. We're making higher highs. We're in an uptrend. The 20 EMA Keltner is moving up, and momentum's above the zero line. So there's another condition right here that's being met. Let's have a look. There's a short, there's a long. All right. Not bad. Now we're getting it right here as well, but let me just think about this for a moment. 1, 2, 3. If we wanted to get rid of some of those signals just for visual sake, we could just use a signal blocker. Set it to 4. There we go. So it's resetting after 4 bars, or if we get a signal in the opposite direction. So remember, we had all these signals previously, so we're going to block the next 3 bars because, remember, it's using the current bar as well, so it's blocking the next 3 bars after the signal. So 1, 2, 3. Actually, no, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I guess for the blocker it is 4 subsequent bars after the signal. And then we want to allow the opposite signal to come through, so we set that to true. Okay? All right, now then, let's show this reversal down here. So when the momentum pulls far enough away from the bottom Bollinger Band or the upper Bollinger Band. So let's show a reversal signal here. Using another comparison, indicator A, we're obviously looking at the momentum. The actual dotted line there. MomentumBBLines, we set this to a 20. And then for indicator B, now think about this, all right? We're looking at the momentum line relative to the lower band. So what kind of a signal do we want to get out of this section right here? We want to get a long signal, all right? So we want to get a long from the lower band, and then we want to get a short from the upper band. So we find the momentum indicator again, MomentumBBLines, set this to 20. And then now for the upper, what did we say? We wanted a short, and then from this lower, we want to get a long signal. So we set that there. We don't need any paint bars. But remember, we want to show when it's pushed down below it far enough away. So we want to have some kind of a minimum distance. And I guess we're going to have to set that in points, because remember the MACD, the momentum, let's see, is momentum, I don't think it's normalized. So if I change this, see how the scaling is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. If I were to change this to the ES, it would then be 1 point blah, 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 or 1.23 or even 10. So it's not normalized that you get the same output over here, the same scaling for every instrument, like, say, the stochastics would be or the RSI. So what we can do is we can actually set this to show when the momentum is below the Bollinger Band by a percentage of the ATR, a certain percentage of the ATR or more. So we'll set this now to ATRs. Let's just say 50. such that we can use this now on multiple instruments and chart sizes. So a 50 period ATR, let's say 15% of the ATR. So we want to get a long out of this, remember. So we need to change these now. We want to get a long when it's below it by 15% of the 50 period ATR or more. So we have to change the output here. And then likewise for the short. Yeah, that's not nearly enough. We need to set this to like, let's just set it to 1 and see what happens. It's a little bit better. So we're showing now on this first bar right here, as that's the first momentum dot there that is low enough below the lower Bollinger Band to start getting the long signal. All right, let's see if that's actually going to cut it. It's not going to cut it right there. Let's say a little less, maybe 0.85. Let's not try to curve fit it too much here. Let's keep it set to 0.85 for now. So this is the momentum below lower BB Bollinger Band. Momentum below lower Bollinger Band by 85% of the ATR 50. And then obviously vice versa for the short, so I'll just leave it named that for now. Otherwise we have a giant name in there. Now, remember, we only want to get this reversal condition when the lower Bollinger Band begins to have a waning slope. So we want the slope to be decreasing. All right, so now let's look at the slope solver. We need a slope for the lower Bollinger Band and a slope for the upper Bollinger Band. All right, so let's set this now to MomentumBBLines 20. Lower. For long, actually, let's see. I'm going to try this. Lower for long and upper for short, and see if this, see if I get this to work right. So we want to have a minimum slope. Yeah, this should work fine. Actually, we want to have, rather than eliminating the minimum slope, here, let me just figure this out real quick. So if I say ticks, let's set it to ticks for right now. No, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to do each one independently. That's what I figured. Okay. All right, so we're going to get the lower out of this one, the slope of the lower for this one. And this is going to be long only. All right, so I need, when it's sloping down, I need to be getting a long signal. So we need to switch these now, because remember, if it's sloping down, we want to get the long. There we go. So really all I've done is eliminate when it's kind of flat. But see, that's the part I want to keep. Let me just set this to like 1 tick. 2 ticks. So it's really keeping the part that's sloping strong. I want to keep the part that's sloping weaker. All right, so let's use maximum slope. Of 2 ticks. Actually, this is what I want to use. I want to use right here. Right now I'm keeping the areas that are flat. You see that? So when we're at a minimum slope of 2 ticks or less, then we have the output. Hopefully I didn't confuse everyone while I was trying to figure out which way to do that. All right, so when it's sloping down at a minimum of 2 ticks or less, then we get the long output. All right, now we say lower BB of the momentum. Okay, so that's for the lower, but let's say we want to set this also in ATRs so that we can use this on multiple instruments and chart sizes. Let's say a minimum of 1 ATR, say 0.2. I'm going to change this to a 50 period like we did for the other ones. And, 0.4. Let's have a look at that. Remember, this is just for the lower. Let's make a slightly larger allowance there, 35. No, I'm sorry, we need to go up, so 0.5. Okay, let's try this. So I'm going to copy this. All right, let's see. So this one we need the upper. And this is going to be short only. That's not tight enough. Let's set this down to a 4. Let's try this. Let's set them both down to 4 and see what we get now. So when let me set this to upper. So when the Bollinger Band is sloping, flat enough, not too steep, and if the momentum pulls far enough away from it, we want to show that area. So let's connect all of these together. First of all, we need to connect the 2 slope solvers with an OR to let both of them come through, and then connect these 2 guys with an AND node and have a look. All right, good. So we've isolated this one and this one. We're just not going to be able to get that, I guess. All right, we have this little area here, but then it goes too steep there, so we're not going to catch this reversal. That's good because it's too steep anyway. Not going to catch that one. We will catch this one here. which is a good one. Might catch that one. Depends on how many bars we allow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, so now let's build the rest of the condition to show this reversal pattern here. Let's start with this one. So what we want to show I guess let's first show just something basic when the when the momentum turns down. All right, Charles is telling me to tell Larry to ensure he selects the mic and speakers option for GoToWebinar, not the telephone. Okay. Yeah, let me just copy and paste that to him. See if I can. No. All right. I'm not going to make everybody wait. So let's do this now. Let's look back. 1, 3 bars, let's say. So we're essentially just going to extend this signal forward by 3 bars, which is really 2 extra bars. All right, and then we're going to use the indicator inflection solver to show when this little dot turns up or turns down. All right, so we're going to select the momentum. There we go. So now let's connect these together. And there we have a reversal signal here. All right, we also have one here that is a little bit early. So let's see if we can't refine this a little bit further. Either we're going to be early or we're going to be late, you know. So let's have a look. We get a nice short there. This is no good. No good. No good, no good. All right, let's work on this thing a little bit more. So rather than showing when it just turns up, let's show when it actually breaks back inside or actually crosses the midpoint of this. So let's use an indicator crossover. We'll show when the momentum crosses above the midline and when it crosses below the midline. Okay, now let's add the midband here. The average, right? So when the momentum crosses the average, so there we go. Actually, okay, it doesn't quite cross there, so it crosses here. So obviously now we'll have to use a larger look back. We'll have to extend this forward quite a few more bars, so let's do that now. Let's see how many. That's quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. I'm going to use the signal extender instead so that I can have a reset for this, because this is quite a few bars here. This is how many bars total? Yeah, perfect. It's like 19 bars. Ooh. All right. All right, there's the signal. But I want to see now how many bad signals we get out of this, because we're extending so far that I think I'm going to have a reset, a good reset. So we're getting along there where, I don't know. We're getting a short there, which is not exactly what we're looking for either. Yeah, this one is going to be a little iffy, but you know what? It doesn't look like too bad of a signal, really. Well, except for there. Right when I say that. It's a good short there, though. Let's just have a quick test of this and see. Yeah, let's save this right now. Just curious. All right, and now we'll test this and run. So I'm going to, obviously we have to make sure that the chart trader is off. Right click, go to the strategies window, add Raven. Click OK, and I'm going to select the entry, and let's just say for a target, let's just do 10 and 10 just to kind of have an idea for the entry efficiency. 10 and 10, yeah, it's fine. Backtest true. And then I'm going to enable it. And set this to 30 days. Okay, so let's see the performance. Not very good at all. Okay, so let's forget about that then. We'll disable this and try to change this a little bit. So we want to disallow these signals here. I'm just curious what kind of a reset should I put on it? Let me just think for a moment. I don't know that waiting for the cross of the actual average is such a good. Let's just say we'll wait for the cross of the upper and lower lines. Let's try that. So we'll use the lower for the long, the upper for the short. There we go. And we'll set this back down to, say, 10. We really don't even need that much, I don't think. 7, there we go. Not sure why we're allowing it here. That doesn't make sense. Let's see if that's far enough away. Yep, just barely. All right, let's refine that a little bit more. Let's set this to, say, 1 like we had it. There we go. Okay, good. So now let me change it back to 3 days. Okay. Don't necessarily like these, but you're going to have some bad ones, obviously. Yeah, see, it's... Let's have a look at that slope now. Yeah, I could do, Julie, but this is really a reversal kind of a signal. Let's see. Yeah, it's just allowing way too much. Okay. All right. Not bad. So that eliminated a lot of the bad ones. Good. Still one bad one there. All right, good. All right, now let's add everything together. So this is the trend trade, and then this is the counter trend trade. If anybody would want to add any other conditions or any other indicators, just let me know and I'll throw some more stuff on here. I just wanted to kind of do a general overview. All right, so now we're allowing both of these signals to come through with the OR node. Let's have a look here. So this is just kind of a simple little system. If there's any other conditions that you guys would want to add, let me know and I'll add them. Or if you want to look at any other indicators, or if you have some conditions that you want to build that you need help with, let me know. Let's test this now. Sure, Omar. I'll add a couple of volume conditions on there as well. Let's have a test just the way it is right now. $10 and $10, probably not the best. We'll do a little optimization like we did last time with it. So let's turn this on. And this is only for 3 days, obviously. Wow, $10. See, that's way too many trades. All right, let's do this. Let's add the time session solver so that we're only taking trades in the session. Whoop. Time session solver with an AND node here. And we'll set this to NYMEX Energy RTH for crude oil, so that's going to be 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And that should eliminate all those overnight trades. And then I'll disable this. Just double check that we have that in there. Yep, we do. Time session solver. Re-enable it, hit OK, and run the test again. Let's load a number of days. Let's load like 30 days. Okay, so not very good. That's a lot of trades anyway. I mean, that's just an astronomical amount of trades in 1 month. You would think that it'd be even less, but okay, so not exactly great. Obviously, the last one that we built was much better. But, you know, this is all about building concepts. Obviously, I'm not going to create an awesome strategy that everyone can take and, you know, start running and making money with in an hour, hour and a half. But just kind of going over some general concepts, how to do these things, how to build these conditions. Omar was asking if I would look at increasing volume. So I'll show you how to do that. SMI inflection filter. Is that SMI? Is that, Julie, is that something that is available with, that comes standard with NinjaTrader? If it's from, it is standard with NinjaTrader, it's not a big mic indicator? So just this one, SMI. You're saying use a 358, so a 3 here. Five, 8. What about here? Just a 1 right there? You sure? Okay. I'll add this. I'll go ahead and build Omar's volume conditions first, and then we'll add this. Let me just take the strategy off. We'll give it another 20 minutes, and then I'll have to go here. But let's add just regular volume. So let's look at volume now. Omar was asking, could we show when volume is increasing? So I'll look at, say, the past 3 bars and show when volume is increasing for the past 3 bars. We'll use a comparison. I'll use volume for indicator A. Just, you know, accessing it here from the type, so volume. And then to look at the volume 1 bar ago, we'll have to add in the indicator, volume, VOL, and then displace it by 1. I need to go ahead and change the days back real fast. Let me do that. If you have too many days back on the chart while you're trying to build conditions, it can take a very long time to build even basic conditions because, you know, BloodHound has to cycle through all of those bars on the chart. So it's best to use a minimum number of days or bars while you're actually building. And I know today probably seems a little bit boring, and I'm not teaching as well as I did last time. I'm just extremely tired. I've had so much work I've had to get done the past few days. I've been up to like midnight working like 18-hour days, so it's starting to wear on me. So we're going to show when current volume is greater than the volume of 1 bar ago. Right, you see how I did that? So I set the short and the long output to A greater than B. So if the current volume is greater than the volume 1 bar ago. Now, let's add in one more. So let's say a total of 3 bars. So this is the current volume greater than the volume 1 bar ago. So I'll copy that one, and now we'll look at volume 1 bar ago greater than volume 2 bars ago. All right, so we'll add in the volume here. And then set this to 2 bars back. And then add these both together with an AND node so that the current volume has to be greater than the volume 1 bar ago, and the volume 1 bar ago has to be greater than the volume 2 bars ago. So this would be increasing volume. I don't know if the visual is very good there on this dark blue. I guess dark blue isn't the best color I could have chosen. But you can see we're getting both the long and the short output, right, on the bars where the volume is increasing. So that doesn't seem correct. Okay, here's what I did. All right, rather than displacing it 1 bar here like I should have, I didn't displace it at all. So this is actually the current volume greater than the volume 2 bars ago. Now that might be good enough, but to have an actual steady increase, let's set it to 1. There we go, increasing volume. Let's add this together. Okay, we have to add the time session solver now. Okay. Actually, I don't have to use that extra AND node. We'll just add everything to this AND node so that we're only taking trades that have increasing volume. All right, I'm not sure how this is going to actually turn out, but this is a condition Omar wanted to try, and it's could be a good one. We'll see. So let's test that now. So we're taking only the trades that have increasing volume. So that's eliminated a large number of the trades, but that might be a good thing. It probably is a good thing. So let's test that now. Remember, anytime we make a change to the template and then we want to come back into Raven and retest it, we have to reload the same template because we made changes to it. So we just open the template, click File, Open. Well, I don't need to even click Open. We just click File, and it's right there at the top. And there are our 2 volume conditions. Then we click OK, enable it, and let's change this now. Well, let's keep it set to 10 and 10, but we'll change this, maybe even optimize it to see what the best settings are. Actually, I won't have time to optimize it, so let's just test it. Yeah, we'll try a volume chart, sure. We'll even try a 1-minute chart and see. So not very many trades. What I think I'm, yeah, okay, let's set it to 30. All right, here we go. All right, and then we'll test Julie's SMI condition. Excuse me. Okay, so it limited the number of trades. It didn't necessarily help our profit factor. So, you know, let's test some other things. Let's look at that SMI. So if you add the Julie's saying if you add the SMI 3581 inflection solver, it will get rid of a lot of the bad signals. Okay, let's test that. Let's take the volume off. We'll use the inflection with the SMI. So that was a 3, 5, 8, 1 setting, and we're just using the SMI, right? Not the SMI EMA. Okay. Okay, so let's connect that now to the AND node. And we'll see how this tests. Cross your fingers. There's the SMI. Turn it on, hit OK and OK. I think 10 and 10 is just way too tight. Let's see. You got to catch those runners. I mean, all the people that I've talked to that actually make money at this gig, they, they say that by the end of the month, there's about 5 or 10% of their trades make just about 90% of all their earnings for the month. So, and that's consistent from everyone that I've talked to. So you really need to catch some of those larger winning trades. That did help quite a bit, actually. So it brought our profit factor up to almost 1. So that was actually a pretty good condition. Thanks, Julie. And that brought us up to about 50% profitable. Really, anything over 40, you're on to something. And if you can just manage some of those trades with, say, the ATM strategy, or manually get good at actually managing the trades. So don't rely fully on full automation, but automate those entries. Once you find something that is a good method, which is kind of what we're in the process of doing, kind of the discovery process here, just throwing things together. We could do this for weeks, and next time we do this, we'll try something just totally different. Zach said that this would be my last time, but I think I'm going to continue to do this. So, maybe not on Friday, but maybe say on Monday or Wednesday or something like that. So, yep. So next time we'll try something just totally different and see if we can't come up with actually a decent methodology. Just try different concepts and put different ideas together. But like I'm saying, anything above 40% with just a 10 to 10, a 1-to-1 risk to reward, then your entry is probably something worth exploring further. All right, but you just got to try. You got to try not to delude yourself with some of these things, because you can get overly excited and confident, and then when you do further testing, it can just kind of fall apart. So don't jump to conclusions, is what I'm getting at. Always do thorough testing, and try different combinations. Try using indicators in multiple different ways, and things that you might not have even considered before, such as the way I use this momentum. I mean, it didn't prove to be an awesome condition or anything, but using different indicators in different ways is going to kind of help you start to think in the way that you need to start creating something rather than just, you know, reading books and building things according to what other people have written about. Some of that stuff is, well, chances are if people write about it, let's put it like this. Most of the people that I've talked to say that out of all the books that they've read, there's probably about 1% that they've found to be useful. So just because somebody wrote a book doesn't make them an expert, right? Especially now that we have Amazon with all of these Kindle books and whatnot. So you got to be careful. But that's what BloodHound is so great. I mean, we get to test these things quickly and easily. All right. So thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you guys next week.